Okay, yesterday we began a new parak, and the parak is the dealing with the halacha of a edus of a woman being believed. We spoke out clearly the kula of mishumiguni kilva rabbanon, isha daiko mitzvah, or an eid echad that it's a midi davila l'skuye that it might be they testify a guy's dead and he's not dead, he may show up. So all these factors factor in that you'll be believed. If in fact the husband shows up and she remarried, then the grace of tsuras, right? Big tsuras. Okay, we said yesterday that she is believed with two factors. One, that there's no fighting between them, and two, it's not a time of war. We asked the question, if anything, a time of war should be a reason she should be believed, because after all, people die during war, so therefore they should be believed. That no, it's more of a proof that he's dead. And the answer is that what? War is not, she could believe he's dead, but not necessarily know he's dead. The war is a reason to go ahead that she can, the lashon of the Gemara is b'didami. It seems to her as if he's dead. I saw one of the Rishonim spoke out, like the three people, the first guy got killed and the third guy got killed. So why did she say, my guy also got killed? And there's no raya. We know that every bullet's got its name on it. It's a famous spicer with Meir Simcha, he was the Rav in Dvinsk, and World War I, the battle came through Dvinsk. Everyone left, and he said, as long as there is a minion here, I'm going to stay. I'll be the 10th man. And he said, I told his nefesh, he goes, every bullet has its name on it. He said, and he stayed, and he lived. Maybe a lot of schusim too. But I'm saying the bottom line is, I put it say, I won't play that card. I'm not playing that card, but I'm saying that. So we said we had. What about hunger? We said about hunger. Hunger is worse than war, because with war, hunger you got to see him dead and buried. Hunger, it's enough that he's on the bed. And now we're up to different situation. Are they like war or not like war? Are they like war that you believe, that you're not believed, or not like war that she would be believed? Not like war. That's what we're up to. We're up to Kuf Yud Dalit Amid Beis. Kuf Yud Dalit Amid Beis. I was waiting for you, Rabbi Rosenzweig, to start, so I just gave a big hakdama, so you didn't miss anything, right? Anyway, we're up to Kuf Yud Dalit Amid Beis. We are 4 lines up. Mapoilis. What happens if a house falls in on you? What happens if a house falls in on you? Haru Kamulchama. That has what a din of mulchama. That's a din of mulchama, because could be she can think he's dead. The Amar b'didami. She's going to say she thinks he's dead. Guys, the interesting thing about the dummy is this is what she believes. It's not that we don't believe her. We don't believe her perception. You understand? It's not we don't believe her. We don't believe her perception. Her perception is he's dead. So it's not that we don't believe her. You think he's alive. You think he's dead. Ken Zayin is alive. That bit the dummy. So Shiluch l'choshen v'akrav, and let's say there's a snake infestation or a scorpion's infestation, and they're biting and stinging. She's going to go ahead and say what? It appears to me. Dever, what about Dever? What about a pestilence? So Amirle, that what? She'll say that he's dead. Others say, it's not like a mulchama. It's like a mulchama. That's, everyone's dying from pestilence. Why should my husband be different? The Imila say, no, ain't a mulchama. The Samchi Adami Inshi, to be samich when people say, Shev Shani Hu Musna, 7 years of death. The Inish B'lei Shani Lo Yazil, but if it's man, is not his time, he won't go. Okay, in other words, it's again similar to the bull, it's got its mark on it. So therefore, there's an abeya that Dev is different. Einachinami Deva, if she says he's dead, in fact, she would be believed. Iboilahu. Hichsika hi ba'olam, milchama ba'olam, mahu. So guys, let's following. Guys, if you don't know there's war, and she comes and says her husband's dead, what's the halacha? She's believed. She's believed. Again, no fighting between them, no war. She's believed. She went overseas. She comes and tells us there's war over there and my husband's dead. Do we say Mali Lashaka, she has a migu? Migu believer that her husband's dead. Why? Because she didn't have to say there was a war. Or do we say b'didami? That's the shaila. It's a very interesting shaila. She is machzik that is what? That is war. She creates the reason for not being believed, right? She creates the reason for what? For not being believed. That's the shadow. She's creating the reason for not being believed. Mi aminon mali l'shaker. Do we say mali l'shaker, meaning a migu? Believe me that my husband's dead. Migu that what? I didn't have to tell you there was a war and you would believe me. Or the iboyom is shalom ba'olam. She could have said shalom ba'olam and she would believe. Like Dilma, kivin this chazik, right? Since she's amra b'didami, since she's machzik that there's a war. In other words, you're going to go ahead what? Be machzik that she thinks that's what she's saying. And again, guys, remember, it's not that we don't believe her. You know, there's two sides to a coin. Usually, you believe the person or you don't believe the person. Usually, you don't believe the person because you believe the person's lying. Over here, she's not lying. She believes he's dead. But the dummy means she believes he's dead. So, in other words, it's not an inyan of mali l'shaker. That's a kayach to believe a person. It's not pshat. We don't believe you. In other words, that is not a winning taina. Once she said that there's a war, that creates the scenario but the dummy. That's the Gemara Shaila.
Why does it make? What's the difference that she's the one that said that there's a war? It's not a question of believing her.
Because because we're machzik shalom ba'olam. We need, in other words, we're machzik this shalom in the world. There's not a war. So if she wouldn't say anything, she'd be believed. Right. She informs us of something we didn't know.
But the reason you believe her is not because that it's not because of not because of that. It's because of Metzias. Metzias is if there's a war, then there's a question if what she's saying is right. So the fact that she's the one who's
good, so very good. Well, yes, it does. Why? Because maybe so that's the tzad. That's the tzad. That's the second side. You're explaining Avrami the second side. That exactly is the second side. That exactly is the second side. In other words, Mali the Shaker, you know, if she wanted to really be believed, she didn't have to tell us there's a war, or since she told us there's a war, so forget about belief. Exactly. You explained the second side very well. That's the second side. That's the second side. Beautiful shaila. These are the yisoidis in these shailas. Is there a war? Is there a svara of bididami? In other words, there's svara bididami. Is there a svara? In the shailas of igunis, is it possible it's a mitzias of maybe bididami, right? In other words, you could see someone go into the gas chamber in Auschwitz, right? There's a story about a guy went in, and he was always happy talking, and he always his cellmate, and next he's speaking to the cellmate, and the cellmate, and they're both in Auschwitz, in the gas chamber, and the cellmate says to him, and what are you going to say now? And he said, I still have to be talking, and there's too many people, and the German opened it up and took that guy out. So if you would have seen him gone in, say he's dead. That's been the dummy. That's been the dummy. In other words, you have to see the dead body. Again, we're going to see this. This is the fascinating. What? Before the Shiva Matid, I think again, I'm not. It was a crazy amount. Again, after the war, he went back to Vilna. After the war, and he went back to I don't know how many. He said, and no one ever showed up. We were talking like hundreds, maybe 1,000. Could be maybe. Don't call me this. Maybe Ken Zain. I heard 1,000. Ken Zain. It's been a long time. But he said it never showed up. He said it never showed up. And there's the famous Maisha with Rav Moshe, where Moshe, a woman, the husband showed up. And it was a certain Rav, and Rav Moshe was very strong with it. He goes, Ich habe gekent der Rav, Zagibba. And it kept on going and going and going and going till the woman finally broke down and admitted that she made it up. So Rav Moshe said, there's a certain siyata d'shmaya that the place can have. At the B'shas, when they pass on a shayla like this, they'll have a siyata d'shmaya tell the truth. That Rav was so great, he's zicha had at siyata d'shmaya. Yeah, I thought a different shot. I thought they would die. You know, they blew it. The husband would die. He wouldn't show up. I'm saying vis-a-vis, it's not happening. I'm saying it's just. But again, these are the gemaras. This is the this 150 times. He went through the sugyas and that I can be made. He said he went through the sugyas 150 times before he matter in Laguna. He went through the sugya 150 times. That I can be made on. That I can be made. He said, I heard him say. He went through the sugya, this parak and the next parak and the Isha Rabbah 150 times. Yeah, again, You got Tomato and Ish, you got to be a big person, right? It's got to be a very big person. Okay. Anyway, here's another Shiloh. Toshma. Guys, what's a Shiloh? What's that? Yeah.
If you said it's a famine instead of a war, would it be either? Would it be better?
No, we said it. Famine's worse than a war. We said even.
Yeah, so it would be a better time than.
No, again, the same. No, the same. I hear what you're saying. I don't know. Probably the same time. Probably the same time. Like this. What's a Shiloh? Okay, Doc, listen up. What's a Shiloh? Avram, listen up. We spoke at yesterday that she's believed to say her husband's dead, but if there's a war, she's not believed because the situation may arise where she's going to think her husband's dead and he's really not. What happens if she's the one who told us there's a war? In other words, it's all quiet on the Western Front. We think there's no war. She comes and says, I went overseas, there's a war and my husband's dead. Since she's giving us the information, it's like, amigo, believe me that my husband's dead. Maybe I didn't have to say anything about the war. Well, the fact is, she said there's a war and what? And if there's a war, it's not a matter of belief. We believe you. But guess what? We believe you that you think he's dead and maybe he's not. Right? That's really the Shiloh. So now, says the Gemara, Toshma, Ishinu Aleinu Bayis. The house was smoking. There was a fire in the house. Ashinu Aleinu Mara. There was a fire in the cave. And who mace? He died. Vaninit Salti, and I was saved. Ain't in their menace. She's not believed. So now she's the one being machzik that there was a fire. You know, fire is like war, and nonetheless, what she's not believed. Says shiny Hassam, the Amalah, we tell her ki just like a nest happened to you, a nest happened to him. So if you're worried about what if he's dead, there should be a body there, right? There should be a body. So look at Rashi. Rashi addresses it, guys. Rashi says two words. Rashi says, Hitzisu be'esh, the house was what? Lit in fire. V'nismali Oshim was full of smoke. V'ani barachti, and I ran away. In other words, it's not just there by the house. She ran away, and now she's claiming what she perceived, that the house burnt and the guy and her husband's dead. And they say it's bididami. Just like you were saved, he was saved. Right? So therefore, you have no raya. Next case. Naflu aleinu oivdei kechavim. We were attacked by goyim. Naflu aleinu listim. Or we attacked by robbers, and who mace, and he's dead. V'nitzalti, and I was saved. Ne'emenes. She's believed. She's believed. So you see that what? Where she's machzik, she creates the mitzias. Mali war, Mali smoking house, Mali listim, right? She's believed here. Says the more, no, it's different over here. Hasam kid Rav Idi. Dam Rav Idi, Isha kli zaina Allah. Isha, her weapons are upon her. Pirish. Why is she believed over here, guys? Why would she run away from the goyim? Because she's scared of being killed. She's not running away because the goyim are not going to kill her. The goyim are going to use her for znus. Isha, the lashon of Gemara here in Avodah Zarah is a woman. Her weapons are upon her. No, it's to stay alive. Her weapons are upon her. They're going to use her for znus. The Mela, she didn't run away. So if she didn't run away and she sees, then she knows her husband's dead. It's not bididami. Again, when's bididami? There's a war. She's running away. There's a fire. She's running away. But by goyim, where she's not running away because she knows the goyim are not going to kill her because they have other plans for her. Then she is believed because she was there. Pashas, he was there. Okay, that's the difference. Very good. What?
Why don't you say she'll run away?
It's mashbi. You only run away from death. You run away from death. You're not going to leave your husband if you're worried about getting killed. You run away. For something else, you're not running away. Says the Gemara. Ahu Gavra, guys, this is a case. Ahu Gavra, listen to this case. There was a case. This was mamish an instance. Ahu Gavra, there was this individual. The Bishelhi Hilule, at the end of a wedding, Itle Nura Beganani, a fire. It was ignited in the house. Amruloi de Bisayu, and the I guess it was the Kala. She started yelling, Chazi Gavroi, look at my husband, look at my husband. And Asa Chazi Gavra, they came and they found the man, Charucha, the Shadi, that what there was a man who was burnt, Upista the Yoda the Shadya, and an arm was there. They found a person burnt and an arm. That's what they found. This was the Maisa that happened. Now, Sava Rav Chia bar Oven Lameimar, Hainu ishinu aleinu bias ashinu aleimara. This is the case before we should not believe. In other words, this is bididami. This is the same thing. In other words, what's your raya that the husband is just because there's a body, it doesn't seem to be right. Amarava, no, me dummy. You can't compare it to the case of the fire. Hasam loy ka'armit chazi gavray. She didn't go ahead and announce my husband. But in addition, gava charucha, they find the shadi upisas of the other the shadya. They found a man and what with a hand. So what's the pshat with the man with the hand, right? The burnt man is the husband. The hand is a person who came to save the husband. So therefore, that's the dead body, because she said, this is him, and therefore we'll assume that that's the husband. And the arm is of another man who came to save him. And the chayrid, the rest of the other person got burnt. So what was left was an arm.
The arm is intact.
And it's an arm. It's an arm, not a leg. It's an arm. Yeah. So now, so what's the svara of Rava? If there's a body and there's an arm, right? And the body must be, since she said chazak avoy, he must be my husband. He's on fire, and the arm must be a person. Obviously, the dead body has two arms, right? Right. That body has two arms, and this is the ma'isa. Now, Rav Chia said did not believe. Why? Rav Chia baravin gavra charucha deshadya ema ina shachrina asal atzulei v'achlase nura. You know who that dead body is? That's a person who came to go ahead and save the husband. Who pista the yade the shade the nura itla. The husband's arm fell off. V'syalde b'muma umachmas kisufan. Since he was embarrassed, also v'arik la'alma. He ran away. That's his svara. Why she's not believed. In other words, you're looking at this, mamish, you're looking at a dead body over here. Again, you could all figure out in your mind what you think. I know you're all a bunch of cynics. You know, Mendy, I'm looking at Mendy. Mendy's saying that I wish Uncle Elliot was here for this Gemara. Mendy's saying, my chavus is not here, right? Okay. Anyway, again, we want to mata a neshes ish. We want to mata a neshes ish. It's a big thing. You have a regalayim ledava that this dead body is her dead husband. Now, if there was only a dead body without an arm, I think everyone would agree that she's believed. Once you put an arm in over there, now that creates a doubt, doesn't it? That creates a doubt. Why? Because obviously there's somebody there. Okay, so Rava held chazi gavroy, and the arm was some other person. And if Rabbi said, no, Ken Zayin, the arm is him. And if it's him, why is he still not here? Right? Because obviously he didn't want to be married in armless. Okay. And what? Achlokes Mitzias? It isn't. Mitzias would be, for sure. All we know is a dead body. We know who the dead body is. It's not DNA. It's not checking DNA records of teeth, right? It's not Elvis Patterson. There he goes. Okay. Anyway, it's very interesting. I looked up some of the halachas here. They're fascinating, really fascinating stuff. So there's simon in Yud Zayin, it's simon in Ebenezer. I was at 52. There's 54. There's a tremendous amount of sifim in this Indian.
Today would be a different story.
Today it's a little easier. I mean, I know there was a big shiloh by Beagleisen, Olav Shalom, that he was obviously the case of Mapilis, right? And a Nura, he got the whole Milchama. You want to get everything, and they matted because he had spoken to his wife. They knew for sure he was in the building, right? He's spoken to his wife. He told his wife he's not getting out of here, and I think they did find some remain a while later, but they matted. So they used some Rebbe matted. I forgot who. What? Bells matted. I'm saying that was. So I'm saying that but it's a big shiloh. You think that's not a shiloh? It's a shiloh. It's a huge shiloh. Okay. Okay, so now, guys. So if an Eid Echad would show up, guys, let's go through the shiloh. A woman is believed to say husband's dead regularly. Woman's believed. Eid Echad's believed. Say yes. Yes. Good. What about an Eid Echad b'mulchama? In other words, we know a woman b'shas mulchama b'didami, she's not believed. What about an Eid Echad? Now, what's the tzad that he should be believed? So let's see the Gemara. That's the two tzaddim. Says the Gemara. Eid Echad b'mulchama mahu. Time of day Echad mehimna mishum demulsa Davidi leguyehu And a echad is a milsa David legli. In other words, you say a guy's dead, he better be dead because you're subject to what? Him showing up, right? You're subject to what? To him showing up. So therefore, he's not going to lie, right? So let me shaker. Hachanami let me shaker. Idilma time of day echad mishum dihi gufa daiku mitzvah. V'hacha kivin the zimna the san yelei she hates him lei daiku mitzvah. The reason why an echad's believed is why? Because he's just going to introduce that he's dead, but the woman is not going to go ahead and get married because she knows that the whole kit and caboodle's going to come down upon her. She's losing ksuba with mamzeris and no husbands and everything. And therefore, she knows what's the koyach of the echad? Is the koyach of the eid echad his own nemanis, or is the koyach of echad given by the isha? And since it's b'shas milchama, the isha doesn't have that. Why? She lo daiku mitzvah. Says the Gemara, Amar Ram Verchama Tashma, Amar Akiva. When I went to Nardoi to go ahead and make an Ibriya, big places over here, we had that discussion. How can you Ma'abi after Ma'abi in Israel? But Sasi Nechemya Ish based the Imrila, he told me, Shemati, you know what I heard? That they did not allow a person to get married in Eretz Yisrael. Ella Rabbi Yehuda and Bab. Rabbi Yehuda and Bab was the sole Rebbe who permitted it. And Rabbi Akiva said, it's really true. The only person who matters is Yehuda ben Baba. So Amali, so Reb Chemya told Rabbi Akiva, Emalahem, Mishmi, go tell him my name. Atem yoidim hem Medina hazu shemishubeses begaisus. This Medina is mishubeses begaisus. It's full of invading armies. Kachmu kablonim Reb Galil Hazaken. This is Kabbalah from Regil Hazaken. Shemesian Isha al pied echad. We will marry a woman al pied echad. Now, my Medina Mishubeshes Begaisis. What does that mean? Lav Alpha Gav the Medina Zu Mishubeshes Kach Mukublani Shemasin Al Piyah. In other words, you're mentioning that what there was Mishubeshes Begayanis. Good, Begaisis. That means there's a war, and nonetheless you're saying an Eid Echad is believing. So let's be Paishat Shaila. Even B'Shas Milchama, an Eid Echad is believed. Al Eid Echad Mehimna. I'm a Rav. No. Ihachi Maishna Medina Zu Kol Makim Sheish Gaisis Mi Boilei. What do you mean this Medina? Any place, if you're telling me an amalgamated din, a universal din, that as long as there's a war, why dafka in this Medina? What does this Medina have to do with it? If that there's a war. Here's what Nehemiah told him. Atem yoidim shemedina zu meshubeshes begaisis. You know that this Medina, this particular Medina, there's war. I'm not able to leave my house. And go ahead and testify in front of the Chachamim that Kachma Kublanim, Reb Gamliel Shemasian Yishla Be'ed Echad. No, it's normally I would come. So in other words, he's not saying that the Eid Echad said there's war. He's explaining why he couldn't come ahead and be made that an Eid Echad is believed. Stam an Eid Echad. Forget about war. This is establishing the din that an Eid Echad is believed in the Indian Eid Isha. That's the shaila. Is an Eid Echad believed in Eid Isha? I normally would come, but I can't come because there is an ongoing war that's stopping me. But in the Chinam, it's not speaking about what? That in Echad b'Shas Milchama. Apishtayim Eidim Yakadava. 2 Eidim, that's it. 2 Eidim. Totally, whatever she can do, anything. She doesn't have to check it out. 2 Eidim, that's it. What? Again, there's the matter. There's no dove ever less than 2. If there's 2, it's permitted. If there's 1, there's a special waiver, and that is predicated upon knowing what can possibly happen to her. She's going to check it out. Toshma. If she comes back, no, she comes back. The Mishnah speaks it out. Just go look back there. Toshma. Ma'aseh b'shnei talmidei chachamim shoyaboyim im Abba Yosi ben Simoi b'svina. There was a ma'aseh with 2 talmidei chachamim. They were coming with Abba Yosi ben Simoi on a boat, and lo yaleinu b'tava. The boat sank. They siu Rebbe nishoseim al pi nashim, and the Rebbe permitted the women to get married through the aidus of women. The wives of these talmidei chachamim, they were permitted to go ahead and remarry al pi nashim. Water is like milchama. In other words, it's bididami. In other words, if you don't have any bodies, guys, right? It's bididami. You assume that he drowned, but there's no raya that he drowned. Says the Gemara, and women are not better than what an eid echad. So we have a good raya that an eid echad b'shas milchama. Since over here the woman they're equivalent to an eid echad. And drowning is equivalent to war. We can push shaila that b'shas milchama an echad is believed. Says them Tizbra, Mayim Shein Lem Seif Ninu, or Mayim Shein Lem Seif Ishta Asura. We're going to see at the end of guys in the parak. The only when they believe if there's no end to the water, there's no raya that they drowned, because just like you came up on one side, they can come up on the other side. So there's no raya. So obviously over here, saying they're drowned would not permit to get married. We're going to see again, like Mishnah later on. You're not permitted to get married. You're not permitted to get married. So what do you mean that they were believed? You know why they believed? Ella hechidami, the Amri, asiklu kaman. They brought up the bodies in front of us. So guys, all bets are off, right? You got dead bodies in front of you. So that's why they believed, right? The chazinu altar, and we saw them immediately. The ka'armi simonim, right? And they gave simonim. The lavalayu samchina. We're not slamich on the edim, on the women. Asimonim, on the simonim. Okay, so therefore, this has no bearing on the shiloh of Eidechad because it had everything to do. You had dead bodies, and we had simonim that the dead bodies were what, in fact, these people. Now, why altar, guys? What's the chazin al altar? Let's see the taisus. The chazin al altar, we saw them right away. Pirish the altar. As soon as they came out of the water. If they remained in the water for a long time, you don't have to be chayish that the body's going to change. Water goes ahead and it constricts. It doesn't cause them to blow up. As long as there's no makkah. If there's no makkah, the body will remain intact. If you wait after they're taken out of the water, mispach tofach, they blow up. The body blows up. So therefore you need la'alter, because if it's not la'alter, then you wouldn't know who they are. So that's why the Taisus is focused on la'alter. Is it true? This is of course it's true. Yeah, listen. We've heard stories of it. Anyway, whatever. Says the Gemara. Hahu Gavra. So now we digress, guys. Simonim over here, right? Simonim. There's a big shaila in Masechta Bab Metzia. If Simonim are deraisa derabanan, Simonim deraisa derabanan. So if it's deraisa, it explains why over here you can get married. If it's derabanan, why? So you have to say that Simonim mufhakim. Even if you hold Simonim are derabanan, right? First of all, you have to hold that this Simonim over here is the same parsha Simonim over there, which is that so pashut. But if you hold it's the same parsha, even if you hold Simonim, in other words, how do you return an Aveda? You have a Simon, right? That could be only the Rabbanon in nature. If you hold it's the Raisa, you need Adim to return it. But even if you hold, guys, if you hold the Rabbanon, a Simon Mufak would go ahead and want to do the job, an outstanding Simon. So therefore, you have to say over here that Simonim Mufakim. Who Gavra, the Ifkit Shumshani Gabi Chavre. The guy went ahead and he entrusted sesames to his friend. His friend is washing the sesames for him. Amalei said to him, Havli Shumshoy. He came again and said, give me my sesames. So Amalei, so the person that had been entrusted to watch it said to him, Shak L'sinu, you took it already. And he gave Simonim. He told him, the mafkid told him, listen, X amount, and they're in barrels. So Amalei, so the Nifkat said, Didoch Shak L'sinu, you took yours, and these are different. You empty your barrels, and these are different ones. So Savra of Chistel Meima Hanu Shtei Talmidei Chachamim. It's the exact same case as Talmidei Chachamim. So just like you believe they have Simonim, so too over here, the mafkid is believed to say that what it's his sesames. We don't say that these are different, just like we don't say they're different people. We don't say over here this is different sesames. Amalei Rava, me dummy. How can you compare sesames to the dead guys floating in the water? Hasan Karmi Simonim. Over there they said it's Simonim. Hacha Shimshoni, my Simonim is what Simonim do you have? The Udakamar Chain V'Chain Havoyin, the X amount. Maybe sesames were 10-pound bags, right? A nickel bag, whatever it is. They had a certain amount that they would go ahead and put it in, right? So there it was. So in other words, no raya. Are we chayish that they emptied out the barrel? Again, what's the tzad to say that they emptied it out? But Tanan, what's the kli? If you find the kli, because of la kuf, and you see the letter kuf on the kli, carbon. Whatever is inside that barrel has the din of a carbon. In other words, it's kodesh. Mem, if you find on the barrel of mem, meiser, it's meiser sheni. Dalid, demua, it's chulin and truma mixed together. Tes, tevel, it hasn't been tithed. Tough, truma. Now, why would they go ahead and write these simanim? Because b'shas sakana, in the time of Shmad, where they didn't want us to do mitzvahs, we had to go ahead what? They would go ahead and hide their actions. They would go ahead and use letters. Now, in other words, aren't you chayish that what? That maybe they emptied them out? After all, just because it has a letter on it, why you maybe they emptied it out? Aim is safer. Rabbi Yossi, I feel matzah chavius because of truma. Harei lechulin, it's chulin. Why? Shani Omer ishtaket havi mali truma. It was full of truma yesterday. Upina and it emptied it out. So l'chayra, guys. So what's the machlekes? You said l'chayra you have a machlekes, whether you empty it out or not. It says Ella the kuliyama chashina shem opinion. Everyone's chayish to empty it out. V'hacha b'hacha miflagi. Masava im isa de pineu. If it's true they emptied it out, michva havi kafa. They would have erased the ice. If it's not truma anymore, they would erase the tough. If it's not demu anymore, they would have. And when they didn't, it must be it's still there. But usually they would empty out. In other words, we have a hechrich, we have an umdinah to say that it didn't empty out. He forgot. He left it there that people would stay away from it. He emptied it out, but like this, no one's going to steal it. Let's say it says a tough on it, right? And it's cool and gama. But guess what? No one's going to steal it. Not going to steal it. So in other words, we didn't push the shiloh. Gemara, believe it or not, tomorrow's daf we're going to be pushing the shiloh about the shum shmei, whether they're chayish or not. We'll see that tomorrow. Anyway, Yitzchak Reish Galusa bar Achte de Rav Bibi Have. Yitzchak Pashtus, the Reish Galusa, was the son of the daughter of Bibi. He was Rav Bibi's nephew. He was going from Cordova to España to Spain. And he died. Sholchu, they sent him following mesh. Sholchu mehasam. Yitzchak Reish Galusa bar Achte de Rav Bibi Have Kozal mi Cordova la España b'Shachev. Now, mi chashina l'trei Yitzchak oiloi. Are we chayish for two Yitzchaks or not? So, guys, there's only one Reish Galusa. It's only one Reish Galusa. So, I heard a pshat that this was his name. It wasn't the Reish Galusa. His name was Reish Galusa. In other words, in Eretz Yisrael we had the Nesias. In Bavel we had the Reish Galusa. These are the two descendants of David. So this was his name, because there was only one Reish Galusa. This was his name. So, umi chashin l'trei Yitzchak oloi. Abaye Amar Chashinan, we are. Rabbi Amalei Chashinan. Amar Abaye, no, I mean a lot that Chashinan. How do you know Chayish for two Yitzchaks? At two Gita, there was this get, the Shtachit bin Nardoi, that was found in the town of Nardoi, the Kosev Bay, and it was written on the get, Bitzad Kolonya Masana. I am on the side of the city of Cologne, and Andrew Loni Nardoi, Patris Vitachris Yas Ploinis in Sassi. I, Andrew Loni, from Nadoi, are freeing and sending away my wife. Okay, that's what it's written on the get. The Sholch Avu, the Shmuel Akamid of Yehuda, the Sia, they sent in front of Rabbi Yehuda, the Sia again was the grandson of Rabbi. The Sholach Le Tidbak Nadoi, Kula, check out the whole Nadoi. Now, if you said to check out all Nadoi, you must be Chayish, you're Chayish for another Andrew Lenoi. I don't know why, but the Andrew was a name like that. For Rabbi Amar, Im Isa Yivda Kolel Oilami Boile. If it's true that you're concerned, then since Nardoi has shiyaris that are mitzuyas there, why are you limiting it to only Nardoi? You should have to check out the whole world. In other words, why did he answer that? So if it's not true that you don't have to check, why did they say check? Because of the cover of Avu the Shmuel, we want to give chashivas to shilas. They said check it out. Okay, Shalachachi. Amarava Mino Aminallah. How do I know that you're not chayesh shvat for another person? The Hanu Trei Shtare did not fit Mechuza. There were two stories that came out in the town of Mechuza. The Kasiv Bahu, and it's written Chavi bar Nanai, Anoi, and Anoi bar Chavi. The Agbu Bahu, and they used it. The Agbu bar Rabba bar Avua, Zuze, he collected from it. Fred Gemara bar Chavi bar Nanoi, Anoi bar Chavi Mechuza Shchichitu, but it seemed to be a popular name Mechuza. So you see, therefore you're not chayish for another name. The Abaya, Lamai Nechishla, the Abaya says, of course you can collect with it. What are you worried about? Elin Afila, worried about losing a shtar chayiv to collect. Generally, a person's very careful, so it must be what it's his. Because then that maybe someone entrusted him to watch it, meaning a guy by the same name entrusted him to watch it. No person is going to be foolish enough to go ahead and say that I can collect money in the same name. So my what are you going to say? Duma Masle maybe gave him to as a present. So if he gave him to as a present, Oisius nikdus Masira. In fact, what the star is kinda. You would be kinda, so there's nothing to worry about. And therefore, Rava is not chayish, and Abaya is chayish, but over here in this case, you're not chayish because there's no reason to be chayish for any reason. B'ez Hashem, tomorrow we'll be saying share at 9:15. 9:15 in the morning. That's not good for you. But obviously, it has indigestion.
I'll be behind you.
What?